I booked the Airbnb because it looked cozy and comforting. The photos showed a neat little A-frame cabin tucked into pine trees, a wraparound deck, and a hot tub with string lights above it. The caption said, "No neighbors, total privacy, perfect for a reset." I just came off 3 straight months of overtime and a breakup that had turned my apartment into a museum of shared habits. I didn't want a town. I didn't want people. I wanted one long exhale. The host, Mara, messaged back instantly after I booked. "So excited to have you. The road is a little rough. Follow the blue reflectors. If you arrive after dark, take it slow. Cell service drops around the last mile. There's a lockbox on the railing. Enjoy the peace." I got to the last gas station at 6:40 p.m. and topped off even though my tank was half full. It was already dusk, the kind that makes everything look the same shade of tired. I grabbed a coffee I didn't need and drove the next 30 minutes into deepening woods, the road narrowing until it stopped. The blue reflectors started just like she said, little blinking eyes on fence posts and trees. My GPS froze and then politely informed me I was now traveling through a blank space. I rolled the window down. The air smelled wet and green, and there was a faint sweetness like sap. At around 7:32 p.m., my headlights swept over a sign, "Private Drive, no trespassing." I slowed and checked the directions again, but there was no service. I kept going because the reflectors continued past the sign, like someone had placed them specifically to pull you through. A minute later, the A-frame cabin appeared between trees. It was exactly like the photos. Warm light in the windows, the deck lights on. I felt my shoulders drop. Then I noticed the second car. An old SUV sat tucked to the side of the gravel turnout, dusty, dark, like it had been parked there for a while. There was no mention of another guest, and the place was supposed to be an entire home. Maybe it belonged to a caretaker, I told myself. Maybe it was Mara's. I killed the engine. The silence rushed in. No highway hum, no distant voices, just the soft tick of cooling metal and the far-off pulse of insects. I hauled my bag up the steps, found the lockbox, and punched in the code from the app. It clicked open. Inside were 2 keys, one for the front door, one that said "shed" in black marker. A practical detail, I decided, nothing more. The front door opened to a clean, cozy interior that smelled like lemon cleaner. There was a basket of snacks on the counter, granola bars, cocoa packets, and a handwritten note that states, "Welcome. Please keep the curtains closed after dark for the wildlife. If you need anything, message me." I reread that line. Keep the curtains closed after dark for the wildlife. I'd stayed in mountain cabins before. People were warned about bears getting curious, but the phrasing bothered me, like the curtains were for my protection, not the windows. I set my bag down and walked room to room. Everything looked normal. Wood stove, neatly folded towels, a little bookshelf with thrillers and board games. The back door led to the hot tub on the deck, steaming under the string lights. The place felt staged in a way that Airbnbs sometimes do, too perfect, like nobody had ever actually lived there. The only personal touch was an old framed photo on the hallway wall. A woman smiling in front of the A-frame cabin in the summer, her arm around a man whose face was half turned away. Mara, and I leaned closer. The man's face wasn't blurred. It just wasn't quite visible in the print, like the camera had missed him. I shrugged it off and started unpacking. That's when I heard a noise from outside, a soft crunch, like a footstep on gravel. I froze, holding a shirt halfway out of my suitcase. I listened again. Nothing. I told myself it might an animal, a squirrel, a deer, or a bear. Then another crunch, closer to the deck. I moved to the living room window and lifted the curtain an inch. The deck was empty. The hot tub bubbled. The string lights swayed slightly, though I hadn't felt wind, and the SUV was still there. I let the curtain fall and grabbed my phone. No service. I tried the Wi-Fi listed on the fridge. It connected, but the signal was weak and weirdly slow, like it was being strangled. I messaged Mara anyway. "Hi, just arrived. Everything looks great. Quick question. There's an SUV in the driveway. Is someone else here?" The typing bubble appeared immediately. "Oh yes, that's the caretaker. He's not on the property. He just leaves his vehicle there sometimes. Totally normal. Enjoy." The bubbles vanished. I stared at the message. The caretaker wasn't on the property, but he left his vehicle there sometimes. That wasn't how vehicles worked. You didn't leave one behind unless you planned to come back to it. I wanted to laugh at myself. You're jumpy. You're tired. You watch too many documentaries. I forced myself to eat a granola bar and drink water, like I could reset my brain with basic maintenance. To distract myself, I turned on the TV. No signal. The remote was brand new, wrapped in clear plastic. That should have comforted me, but it didn't. It felt like evidence. This place is ready for whoever comes next. I decided to use the hot tub. If I could sit in warm water and look at trees, I'd calm down. I changed clothes, stepped outside, and the cold air slapped my skin with force. The night had thickened into something almost solid. The woods around the deck were darker than I expected. It wasn't just night. It was the kind of dark that seems to press back when you shine a light into it. The hot tub cover was already folded back, like someone had used it earlier. I hesitated, then told myself the caretaker probably cleaned it earlier and forget to put the cover back on. I climbed in. The warmth felt amazing for about 3 minutes until I realized I could hear something else beyond the bubbling. Breathing. Not mine. Something slow, measured, just off to the right, beyond the railing. I sat very still. The breathing stopped. Then, from the woods, a single low sound. Click, click, click. Like someone tapping a fingernail against metal. Like a signal. My heart started doing that stupid thing where it beats too hard and too fast at the same time. I slid my eyes toward the tree line. A shape moved, tall, upright. It could have been a tree. It could have been a shadow. But it shifted in a way that made my stomach go cold. I got out of the hot tub so fast I almost slipped. I didn't even dry off. I shoved the cover down and ran inside, locking the door behind me. Inside, the house felt too quiet. My wet footprints shone on the floor. I listened, holding my breath. Nothing. Then the back deck boards creaked. One step, then another. My skin prickled. I moved to the kitchen and grabbed the heaviest thing I could find, a cast iron pan hanging on the wall. My hands were shaking so badly the metal clinked against the hook. The creaking came again, slow, deliberate, right outside the back door. I stared at the frosted glass. The porch light was on, but the glass made everything blurry. A dark shape passed across it close enough that I could see a vague outline. Someone was right there. I backed away, cast iron pan raised like it could save me. My phone buzzed in my hand. 1 bar of Wi-Fi. A new message from Mara. "Did you remember the curtains?" I stared at it dumbly, like I didn't understand English anymore. Before I could type back, the Wi-Fi dropped. My phone went dead. The back door handle jiggled once, then again, harder. I stood frozen, not because I wanted to, but because my body had decided this was the best survival strategy. The handle jiggled a 3rd time and then stopped. Silence. A minute passed, then another. I tried to tell myself they'd leave, whoever it was. Maybe it really was an animal. Maybe a bear had leaned against the door. But bears don't jiggle handles like they're checking locks. I forced myself to move. I walked, quiet, careful, down the hallway to the front door. The windows along the front had curtains too. I kept them closed, but I could see faint light leaking around the edges. I unlocked the front deadbolt as silently as I could and opened the door a crack. The SUV was still there, and on the windshield, under the wipers, was a folded piece of paper. I stepped out onto the porch, bare feet on cold wood, and grabbed the paper like it might bite me. I unfolded it. Don't open the back door. Don't turn on lights after 10. Don't use the shed key. No signature. No explanation. A chill traveled all the way through my chest and down my arms. My brain tried to form neat possibilities: prank, neighbor, caretaker, local teenagers. But the driveway was a long, private drive in the middle of nowhere. Teenagers didn't casually find you here. I went back inside and locked the front door. Then I did something I'm not proud of. I opened the listing again and scrolled. The reviews were glowing, almost too glowing. So peaceful. Felt like the only people on earth. Amazing privacy. Exactly what we needed. One review stood out because it was short and weirdly specific. Keep curtains closed at night. Trust the host. I clicked the reviewer's profile. No photo, no other reviews. My mouth went dry. I checked the host profile again. Mara's profile picture was a soft focus photo of a woman with sunglasses. The bio said she loves creating safe spaces in nature. The account was a year old. That wasn't enough to mean anything. People are anonymous online. But I couldn't shake the feeling that the entire listing was a stage, and I'd walked onto it alone. The back door handle jiggled again, this time faster, urgent, like someone had gotten angry. Then there was a loud thud against the door. I jumped, nearly dropping the pan. My mind went blank with one clear thought: I'm leaving. I grabbed my keys, shoved my feet into shoes, and threw my bag over my shoulder. I didn't bother packing properly. I just took what I could carry: phone, wallet, car keys. I ran to the front door. As I reached for the deadbolt, the lights inside the cabin flickered once, twice, and then went out completely. The house became a shadow around me. The only light now came from the faint glow of my phone screen. I stood there, suddenly unsure. Walking outside in the pitch dark felt like stepping off a cliff. Then, from the hallway behind me, a new sound, a soft click, like a door opening. I turned my head slowly toward the hall. The shed key was still on the hook by the kitchen. I knew that because I'd left it there on purpose. But now it wasn't. The hook was empty. My throat tightened. I backed up to the front door, fumbled the deadbolt, and yanked it open. Cold air hit my face. The porch was lit by moonlight. The SUV sat in the driveway like a crouched animal, and in the woods beyond it, I saw the shape again, upright, too still, too tall. It stepped forward once into a strip of moonlight, and I saw enough to know it wasn't a tree. It was a person. They held something long in their hand, maybe a stick, maybe a tool. My body moved before my brain could argue. I ran down the steps, sprinted to my car, and tore the door open. As I climbed in, something slammed onto the roof, hard enough that the whole car shuddered. I screamed, turned the key, and the engine hesitated like it wanted to die here with me. Then it started. I hit reverse and nearly backed into the SUV, swerving at the last second. The tires spit gravel. I shot down the drive, following the blue reflectors like they were the only true thing left in the world. In my rearview mirror, I saw someone step into the center of the driveway behind me. They didn't chase. They just stood there, watching. And then, one by one, the blue reflectors went dark. Not because I'd passed them, because someone was turning them off. I drove blind through the last mile on instinct and fear, praying the road didn't drop into a ditch. When my GPS finally regained signal, I didn't slow down until I hit the highway. At the first well-lit gas station, I parked under a floodlight and sat there shaking so hard my teeth clicked. I messaged Mara with trembling thumbs. Someone is on the property. I'm leaving. I'm calling the police. The message didn't deliver. Her profile was gone. The listing, gone. Like it had never existed. The next morning, after a few hours in a cheap motel, I went to the county sheriff's office. I told the deputy everything, expecting the polite skepticism people save for anxious tourists. But he didn't laugh. He asked for the address. When I handed him what I had from the booking confirmation, he went quiet and called someone else over. They spoke in low voices. Then he looked back at me and said carefully, "You said there was a shed key?" "Yes." "And you didn't go in the shed?" "No." He nodded like I'd done exactly one smart thing all night. He didn't tell me what was in the shed. He didn't have to. When I left the station, the air felt too bright, too normal. Cars moved. People carried coffee. Life continued like it hadn't almost closed around me. But for weeks after, every time I drew my curtains at night, my hands shook. And sometimes, if I woke in the dark, I'd swear I could hear it. The faint, patient sound of someone tapping on metal, like a signal meant for someone else. I didn't want to spend money on a hotel for a work trip, so I booked a private room in a charming historic home. It was cheaper than everything else near the conference center, and the photos showed a tidy bedroom with a four-poster bed and a window overlooking a backyard garden. The listing title was upbeat: Cozy Room in Artsy House, Walkable, Friendly Host. The host was named Michael. Profile picture: a smiling guy holding a mug, beard, knit cap, the exact vibe of someone who owns multiple houseplants and says things like energy, unironically. He messaged me the morning of arrival. "Hey, and welcome. Door code is 0408. My roommate is quiet and keeps to himself. House rules: no cooking after 9, lock the front door, and please don't go in the basement. Old house stuff is down there. Have a great stay." The "don't go in the basement" line was so casual, I almost laughed. It read like, "Don't open the closet. It's full of holiday decorations." I arrived at 9:15 p.m. after a delayed flight and a rental car line that moved like punishment. I was exhausted, sticky, and just wanted to sleep. The neighborhood was older: big trees, streetlights spaced far apart, porches with rocking chairs that looked decorative rather than used. The house was a two-story with peeling paint and a sagging front step. I typed in the code. The lock beeped and clicked. Inside, the smell hit me first: a mix of incense, old wood, and something faintly sour, like damp laundry left too long. The entryway was cluttered with shoes, backpacks, and a bicycle leaning against the wall. A handwritten sign taped near the stairs said, "Please remember, no guests." The living room was dim, lit by a salt lamp that made everything look pink and dry. There were canvases stacked against the wall, half-finished paintings, and a couch covered in blankets. The whole place felt lived in, messy, not staged. That should have been reassuring. "Hello?" I called out. No answer. I wheeled my suitcase up the stairs. The listing said my room was the blue room at the end of the hall. The door was painted blue, just like the photos, and it had a keypad lock. I tried the same code. Beep. Red light. I tried again. Beep. Red light. I checked my messages. The front door code was 0408, but there was nothing about my room. I messaged Michael. "Hey, I'm here. Front door opened fine, but the blue room keypad won't unlock." "What's the code?" No typing bubble. I stood in the hallway, suddenly aware of how quiet it was. Not cozy quiet. Empty quiet. The kind that makes you listen to your own breathing and start imagining other breaths layered underneath. There were 3 other doors on the hallway, one slightly open, showing a dark room, one closed with a nameplate that said Michael, and one at the far end with no handle, just a smooth door like it had been replaced recently. I set my suitcase down and knocked on Michael's door. Nothing. I knocked again, harder. From downstairs, a floorboard creaked. I froze. The creak came again, followed by a soft shuffle, like someone dragging slippers. Michael? I called down the stairs. A voice answered, low, not quite right in tone. Yeah? Relief hit me so fast it made me dizzy. Hey, I can't get into the blue room. What's the code? Silence then. Who is this? I blinked. I'm your guest. I booked the room for 3 nights. Another pause. No, you didn't. The words were flat, like a statement of fact. My pulse jumped. I did. Through Airbnb. Your name is Michael? Then the voice, closer now, coming up the stairs. There's no Airbnb here. The stair creaked again, and a man appeared halfway up, his face mostly in shadow. He wore a hoodie and sweatpants. He looked like he'd been woken up. Puffy eyes, messy hair. He stared at me like I was something he didn't recognize in his house, because to him, I was. I have the booking confirmation, I said, holding up my phone like a badge. He didn't come closer. I don't know you, he muffled. A new fear slid into place. Not the fun, suspenseful kind. Real fear. The kind that doesn't care if your story makes sense later. I have messages, I said quickly. From you. Door code. Rules. I didn't send anything, he snapped, louder now. And behind the anger I heard something else. Panic. He was scared too. The house felt suddenly like a trap built from misunderstanding. A stranger and I on opposite ends of a hallway, both believing we had the right to be here. Okay, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I'm going to step outside and call Airbnb support. Yeah, he said, do that. I picked up my suitcase and backed down the stairs, not turning my back on him until I hit the entryway. My fingers fumbled the lock. I got outside and stood on the porch, breathing cold air like it was medicine. I tried to call Airbnb. The call failed. No service. I looked at my phone. 1 bar, then none. I walked down the steps and into the street, holding my phone up like it might catch signal in the wind. Nothing. Behind me, the front door opened. I turned. The man stood on the porch now, watching me. In the streetlight, I could see his face more clearly. He looked like a normal guy, mid-30s, tired, a little scruffy, but his eyes were hard. You need to leave, he said. I'm trying, I said, voice tight. I can't get service. He stared at my car parked at the curb. Is that your car? Yes. Then leave. I don't want to drive without confirming where I'm going. He stepped down a stair. Leave. Now. I walked to my car with my heart banging. I put the suitcase in the trunk. As I reached for the driver's door, I realized the man was still watching. Not from the porch anymore, but from the side yard, half hidden behind a tree. It felt like he was making sure I actually left, like he didn't trust me to do it. I got into the car and locked the doors. My hands were shaking so badly it took 2 tries to start the engine. As I pulled away, my headlights swept across the front of the house, and I saw something I hadn't noticed before. A small sign near the mailbox. No trespassing. Cameras in use. I drove 2 blocks and finally got a weak signal. Airbnb support put me on hold. When someone answered, I explained everything, voice jumping. The representative paused. Can you confirm the address again? I read it off. Silence, then. This listing was removed earlier today. My stomach dropped. Removed? Why was it still showing this morning? I'm so sorry, she said, voice suddenly scripted. We're investigating. We strongly advise you not to return to the property. I'm not, I said. I was just there. The man inside said there's no Airbnb. Another pause. Can you describe the host? I described Michael's profile photo. The representative inhaled sharply. That image is associated with a fraudulent account. My skin went cold. So, who did I message? We believe scammers are using real home addresses and stolen photos to create fake listings, she said carefully. They provide entry codes, when possible, often through leaked smart lock codes or social engineering. I thought of the front door code working perfectly. How? I started, then stopped, because the answer didn't matter. The result did. I asked, why would they do that? I paid through the app. They try to move guests off platform, she said. Or they use the first night to pressure additional payments. Sometimes it's identity theft. Sometimes it's worse. I stared at the road ahead, my headlights cutting through dark. Worse how? I asked. She didn't answer directly. We've canceled your reservation and we'll refund you. Please find alternative accommodations. If you feel unsafe, contact local authorities. I ended up at a hotel that cost more than I wanted to spend. I told the front desk I'd had a mix-up. I didn't tell them I felt like someone had put their hands on my back trying to steer me into a place I didn't belong. In the hotel room, I pulled up the listing again, hoping to screenshot it for proof. It was gone. All I had were the messages. But when I opened them, even those looked wrong now. The Michael account name had changed to a string of numbers. The profile picture was blank. I slept in fragments, waking every hour to check the lock, the window, the hallway. The next day, I called the police non-emergency line and reported what happened. The officer I spoke to sounded familiar with the concept in an exhausted way, like it was another pile on top of everything else. We've gotten a few calls like this, he said. If the homeowner didn't list it, there's not much we can do unless we can identify who created the account. But we'll do a patrol run. I went to my conference and tried to act normal, but all day I kept thinking about the moment on the stairs. Two strangers facing each other, both scared, both helpless in different ways. Because if I'd arrived 10 minutes earlier, if the homeowner hadn't been awake, would I have wandered the house looking for my room? Would I have opened the wrong door? That's what kept snagging in my mind. The basement rule. If it hadn't been for old house stuff, was it a test? A way to see if I'd follow instructions? A way to make me feel like the house had secrets? A way to make me doubt my instincts? After the trip, I got my refund. Airbnb sent a sincere apology email. A week later, I checked the neighborhood on Google Maps, zooming in on the house out of morbid curiosity. The street view showed a different lock on the door, different porch light. The front step had been repaired. Someone had learned something from what happened. Maybe the homeowner, maybe the scammer, or maybe I'd just been one of many. Even now, when I enter a code on any smart lock, I feel my stomach tighten, like my body remembers the sound of that beep and click and how easy it was to step into a space that wasn't meant for me.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, remember to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to tap the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when a new video drops. Until next time, my friends.